Then on 262, this time, would like to move on, and the section for Parks and Recreation that will be discussed will be 2019 capital, and we'll begin on page 283. 83.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, and I have not spoken to Ms. Toops about it, but in that $25,000 I alluded to earlier, it's titled Replace Broken Equipment in the 105 General Fund of the Parish. And I respectfully request that we would put a slash there in park improvements, because everything that's going to come out of there would not be broken equipment. There are some, other things that come out of that. It's a general park improvement line item, and that would help us when we do go to purchasing, and it's not broken playground equipment or something. It wouldn't require us having to come back with an ordinance on that. So I would just like to amend the title of that line item. And as I said, I didn't speak to Ms. Toops, but no, she would be receptive to
Councilman Bellard?
Ms. Toops, if you can identify that line item, I'd offer that as a general amendment.
What page was that on?
283? And how much was the amount?
It's just changing the title, correct?
Yeah, amending it.
Amending the
Change it
title.
from broken equipment to what?
Slash park improvement.
Would you say park improvements or
Park improvements.
park repairs? I mean, we were worried about risk management and losses, and that's why we wanted to have that money
Yep.
set off to the side for those things.
Yep. We would capture it in there, but
That would be on page 283, right in the middle of the book. And the number is 105-196-00-2536-120.
Councilman Bellard has offered that as a general amendment. Any objection? Seeing none, that'll be entered in as a general amendment. Okay. Anything else on 283, guys? 283. All right. Go to 284. 284. Done. Go to 285, page 285. 285. Seeing none, go to page 286. Hop to 286. Councilman Terry.
Just real quick, and want to clarify this to the public, that out of these pages of capital by department under Parks and Rec, it says total department, Parks and Recreation Department, the amount that's being allocated is $2,167,700 under this current budget. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Seeing nothing else on 286. All right. Now, let's move to the next section of Parks and Recreation to discuss the manning table. We'll begin on page 307. 307. Okay. 307. Seeing none, page 308. Page 308. Okay, seeing nothing on 308, let's move to 309. Page 309. Okay, Councilman Castillo.
Thank you, sir. Before we let Gerald give his closing statement, Laurie, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to make sure. parish general fund is unrestricted, it's $380,000 is what the parish is putting into recreation this year? Unrestricted funds? I'm looking at your pie
300,
chart.
yes, sir.
Okay, is that the total amount the parish general fund is dishing out?
No, this does not include capital, so you would add the 25,000 in capital.
So that's it,
That's it.
400,000.
About the 229, that don't count?
That is not from the parish general fund, that is in a special
Good, yeah.
revenue fund.
Okay, so the parish general fund is only putting
I just wanna be-
forward $400,000 in our recreations budget.
That's all?
That's it.
That's it. That's what I need to know. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. That's pretty sad. Phew. All right, I don't see anything on 309 at this time. Is there any comments from the public?
Yes, sir, we do have 3 speakers signed in, the first of which is Daniel Champagne.
That'd be Champagne.
Sure.
No? Okay.
Good afternoon, council. Good afternoon, council. How are y'all?
Good. Just state your name for the record.
My name is Daniel Champagne. I'm acting president of Cajun Sports Association, which is an affiliation or a subsidiary of Lafayette Parks and Recreation. We are right next to Bogier Park. I operate the baseball, softball, volleyball, just all kinds of sports. As we're all aware, Broussard and Youngsville Sports Complexes, they have very nice facilities, very, very nice facilities. And they took a lot of athletes away from me, and I consider my athletes family because I train them, I help them, I grow them. It hurts to see that, they go away because our facilities are not up to par. Our grounds are hard. It's hard to slide. For baseball, I've seen kids slide at home plate and rip their pants off. We till. I'm a volunteer. That's all I do is volunteer my time. I coach. I do everything in my power to make the kids a better place, to play sports, to get in shape. I'm a D1 college athlete, D1 college official for baseball. I love sports. I want to see our young get better, get stronger, get in shape. But I need the money. I go to Greg, I go to them and ask, can I have certain funds to do the fencing? They have sharp edges. It can cut my kids. We don't have the funds. That hurts. Our drop-offs on our sidewalks. A little 5-year-old kid, if he falls, he'll break his neck. I can't have that. I don't want that. So I sit out there on weekends and I till. I cut grass. I weed eat. I know the city can do some of those things for us, but we do it ourselves. We take pride in it. I'm just asking that y'all give them a little bit more in their budget to help me out so I can help my community out. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. I totally understand and I totally respect that. And that's why I said earlier that this discussion for administration and council and for the future of Parks and Rec is so important. Someone asked me, why did Broussard or Youngsville create these parks? It's because the parish didn't get there fast enough and we didn't do anything. And they didn't want to wait on the parish to figure it out because we would take too long to make the improvements. And that's why you see smaller towns, municipalities like Broussard and Youngsville doing their own thing. And that does hurt, because I grew up in the parish-wide Parks Recreation. I played for SATs. There was no select, there was no fancy parks. I played in Broussard, Case I. And you're right, you do need the funds. And I think everyone up here would love to fix that and be able to provide that city and parish-wide, because it is important. But that's, if we don't address it and we don't do anything about it, we're going to continue to lose more and more kids. And that's why you see those other towns doing their own ballparks, and the facilities are nicer and they are better. I just hope that we don't lose sight that we're just as important, and the kids that play in the current associations deserve to have nice facilities. They deserve to be able to slide, not break an ankle or tear their pants or cut themselves on the fence. I think all of our parks deserve to have nice parking lots, good lighting. So, you know, I am working hard, and I promise that Parks and Recreation and I will be meeting quite often, because one of my main goals is to try to fix that, because it's important that we still offer those services. And it's important that we hold on to our parks, because there is a need for parish-wide Parks and Recreation. So I feel your pain. There's other parks in the unincorporated area that have the same thing. There's volunteers that do everything. They go out on the weekend, they cut grass, they fix potholes. And if it wouldn't be for people like you, sir, and other volunteers and other organizations that put their heart and soul, it'd probably be a lot worse than what it is today. So I commend you for your efforts, and your message is loud and clear. And I think everyone on this council feels your pain and sees the need for it. And I think it's just one of those things that we have to tackle, and we have to really pull the communities together and get a better understanding of what it would take to fix that, you know, and that takes the volunteers coming up and speaking. So I thank you. Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Jazen Muffalado. I'm sorry if I pronounced it incorrectly.
No problem, I'm used to it.
State your name for the record, sir.
It's Jason Muffaletto, and I'm the president of the skate park of Lafayette. And I'm here today to introduce myself and the organization, the skate park of Lafayette, that started in October of 2017. We have a grassroots initiative to build a skate park in one of the 4 parcels, or the 4 parks given to us by Greg Gautreaux. And here we also, I'd like to introduce our vice president of our organization, professional skateboarder, Charlie Thomas. Charlie, if you want to stand. We're an organization of now 1,400 community members here in Lafayette, I'm happy to say. We're targeting at-risk youth, skateboarders, BMXers, rollerbladers, scooterists, enthusiasts. We intend on building no more than a goal of a $300,000 skate park, which is a medium-sized skate park. We've chosen an unallocated portion of Thomas Park with 46,000 square feet, and we have, and I have for you today if you would like, design concepts for that area of a 20 to 25,000 square foot free and open to the public skate park that we will be able to host things like the televised X Games here in Lafayette. But we want to definitely build a community staple that is outstanding, that is world class, and that can host a variety of skate, BMX, freestyle BMX, roller derby, rollerblade, inline skating in a beginner, intermediate, and advanced area park. So very excited about that. We began our fundraising efforts for the $300,000 June 1st, and we've already exceeded a portion of our goal for architectural renderings, somewhere in the neighborhood of $8,000. So I'm not here to ask for any money. But we intend, after we build this park, to donate it to Parks and Rec so that they can maintain, really a zero maintenance park at the end of the day. It's little to no money. We're just excited. So I'd like to submit these to share the vision.
Absolutely. Do y'all give skating lessons? Because I don't know how to skate.
I give skating lessons to my 3 boys. They love to do it. We love to do it together, just like I'm certain Charlie, his wife, and his new daughter, they love to skate as well.
And this is skateboards, right? Or just regular skating?
This is all forms of skating.
All forms.
Skateboarding, BMXing, inline skating, scootering, and rollerblading. And if you look at the park, the northeast section of Thomas Park is allocated there on the page. You see the top of the page is where Atlanta Drive begins. And on the north side of the page is the beginner, south side of the page is advanced sections of the park. No ice skating in Louisiana. We don't have any portion of the park allocated for ice skating. That is correct. All of the obstacles on the course were submitted by the public. We took a public poll and voted on different obstacles that our community would like to see. And this is what our architects came up with.
I just asked him where Thomas Park was. So I needed, Bruce is going to take me District 6 a little bit more often. Okay. Is that it, sir?
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this very much, and thank you for your time. Thank you for coming here.
Final speaker is Danny So.
Good afternoon. My name is Danny So. I've been a member of the G's Park community for the last 28 years. Member of the Board of Southwest Athletics for 20. I was a treasurer for 12. Also for 6 years, I was the advisory board of the commission for the Recreation Department. So I've met with Gerald and Greg on numerous occasions about many budgets. Anyway, a little bit, okay. Many budgets, and I've always had good rapport with them. A lot of times we met through the board on projects at our park. They had one idea, the board had another idea. We sat, we hashed it out. Usually the board won, because they always felt the people involved knew more about what's going on than them. And that we have worked with the Recreation Department on many projects, funding-wise. Southwest, 50-50 and a lot of things. The basketball court you're talking about right now, y'all put in $12,000, the board put in $15,000 to put that court together. And that future plans are to cover it, and hopefully the parish could help us on that. When we're talking about organizations, G's Park is in the rural areas, but Southwest Athletics, which is an athletic program through recreation, is a geographical area that includes a lot of the city. So a lot of the city residents' kids have to play in Judy's Park if they're going to be part of the program for athletics. So when you talk about parish dollars and city dollars for parks, keep in mind sometimes that kids in the city are playing in the rural park because they're out their geographical areas there. So sometimes it might pay to take a little city dollars, give to the parish for that certain parks like that. CSA is another example. They have a lot of kids from the Milton area that play in their park from Broussard. Okay, Scott has some people from north that do so. And that we have the south part, they have the north part that do so. So keep in mind that city and parish dollars don't always play. And that sometimes you got to join them. And I suggest strongly, to keep following Gerald and Greg's vision of the future. And thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Danny. Okay. No more speakers? Mr. Boudreau, would you like to make any final comments? Oh, before he, okay. Councilman, Mayor President, your mic's hot.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that, and Laurie, correct me if I'm wrong, but the allocation is now that the city picks up 90% of of the Parks and Rec, and the parish is only 10%. So the city, I think, is, you know, obviously supporting the lion's share of the budget. And so when those kids do have to play in the parish areas, I think the city's certainly carrying its share.
No, absolutely, especially since Mr. Castillo told you exactly what the parish's general fund was putting in. I mean, it's obvious that 90% of it is coming from the city, so.
Actually, that's the subsidy to the fund. When you look at all the funds combined, 5% ends up coming from the parish general fund. The rest comes from the city general fund, the city property tax millage, and then the recreation fund generates some of its own revenues. So at the end of the day, to
It's worse.
subsidize the whole in the recreation fund, it ends up only being 5% from the parish general fund.
95.5, that's the station, right? 95% to 5%. Mr. Boudreaux, we have to start having that discussion soon. I'm turning it over to you. Final comments. I'm sorry. Just hold tight. I'm good. I'm just really flabbergasted with these numbers because I believe in Parks and Recreation.
Actually, my comments is to this council, and I guess to the administration as well, but more so to this council related to the speakers we had here today. The first speaker spoke about the park conditions, and I just told you, I just went behind the seat and told Jay, I said, you know, before there was a beautiful park in Broussard and a beautiful park in Youngsville, those all-star events was being played at Neyland Park. They were being played at Acadian Athletic Association, which is now Brown Park. They have hosted some of the greatest and largest tournaments that the state has ever seen. And then I appreciate your comments, Kevin. At the end of the day, not only in the parish, we just haven't kept up. And those are the type of conversations I've asked that we have, especially with our constituents as it relates to what our needs are. Either we want to keep up and be the best, or we fall behind and we become with the rest, you know. But we used to host Summer Ponies Baseball's greatest tournaments right here in Lafayette, Louisiana, in some public parks, on some public grounds. That's a decision we have to make. And just like the mayor alluded to earlier, and when those teams come in for tournaments and go into the hotels and shop at our stores and our restaurants and buy our artifacts and culture, that's create. So I just hope that we remain that open. And then the young man who made the presentation on skating, it's on a small scale, but the point is, y'all remember how often our gate used to be broken? That was skaters looking for a place to roll down. Same thing in the downtown garage, where I used to park 1010. There's been a large population of people looking for a concrete slab to just enjoy their culture, enjoy their time. So when I look at this park, and then he talking about being able to host events here with people coming in TV events and who knows to what. So at the end of the day, we got to decide what type of city and parish we want to be. But we also have to realize that it's not going to be done on that old 1962 nickel or that old 1995 penny. It's gonna take some courage, and it's gonna take some creativity.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to share that, but I appreciate those speakers coming forward because I could relate to both of those incidents, what's going on in our parks and, you know, those conditions, as well as new forms of recreation like any style of skating you want. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Not to mention there's a lot of pro athletes that came out of Lafayette Parish Parks and Recreation, some ball players that played, and I played with quite a few of them, and it's getting hard to see those type of kids because the select and the bigger fancy parks are, like the gentleman said, they're taking those athletes and taking those people away from our regular system. And our system, like Mr. Boudreaux said back in the day, used to have some big tournaments, and it was fun. And that's, you know, I want to see it get back to that. But like you said, we have to invest in our community, and that's always been my philosophy if you want to improve and make changes. So Final comments from you?
Yeah, let me close briefly. I'd be remiss if I just didn't hit on a couple of things. Some of them have been said already, and I've said this previously, that, you know, when you look at a community and you talk about what are the priorities and what's there, you always have public safety at the top of the spectrum, and that's, you know, our police and the fire. Then we look at infrastructure and our public works, and I've always felt like, you know, Parks and Recreation came into that third wave where you impact the quality of life. I too want to thank the individuals who are participating with us, all as volunteers, all trying to enhance what we have. But again, you know, I want you to realize we went through a budget this afternoon that we're operating on status quo from year to year. And when I introduced the managers early on, and it's not just in recreation, but it's throughout consolidated government, we have people providing yeoman tasks of getting the job done with less resources and with fewer number of people on board, equipment that's old. When we talk about our 35 parks and our 10 recreation centers and activity centers, the upkeep and maintenance of those every year go up. And we ask our custodians, our building maintenance people to do more with less. A question was asked about the profitability of the golf courses. You know, Baton Rouge has shut down, I think, up to 4 golf courses now. But again, when you start impacting the quality of life in a community, and you talked about it earlier, when you talk about what we're going to do with our kids, but we're also talking about individuals with disabilities that we try to impact through our therapeutic program. We also talk about our adults who are looking for lifetime sports and lifetime activities, and so many of them have fallen into the pickleball category to keep that going. Our walking tracks at so many of the facilities, and just being able to go out to the parks. I'll close by saying what Kenneth just hit on. We're operating off of a 1961 sales tax that generates about $2 million annually towards this entire budget. Now, we've said it 4 or 5 times today about conversations. They really have to start sooner than later when we're talking about where are we going to go for recreation in this community. I applaud what Broussard and Youngsville have done with their sports complexes. When we look at parish-wide recreation, we're not only talking about athletics facilities or programs. Again, we're talking about impacting people's lives. So that's the recreation, the education, and the cultural component that takes dollars. It takes dollars to do. And our community is going to have to make a decision. Where are we going to go with recreation? The gentleman that ran recreation for a number of years in our community, Earl Chris and Mickey Domingue, they left us parks that were undeveloped. The last 35 years, we've developed every parcel that we own is fully developed. So where are we going to go in the future? What are we going to develop? Not only do we not have funds budgeted for purchase of additional property, we don't have the upkeep and maintenance dollars for today's facilities. So that's the question that I want to close on, is where do we want to go with parks and recreation? And it's not just the athletic programs. It's for our adults, again, those with disabilities. It's for those people who just want that quality of life, of being able to enjoy green space and going out there. We can't do it off of that 1961 penny that generates $2 million. When at the time, in 1961, we had 5 parks and we had 2 recreation centers and 1 golf course. So that's where we are in recreation. It's frustrating, as these gentlemen came up and spoke, especially Daniel, because he sees it at CSA, one of the most thriving parts of this parish, that whole Kali Saloon Road area, where you have a lot of growth and development, you have a lot of people who are stable and living there, but we haven't been able to positively impact those programs because of limitations of funds. So we're going to have to be creative in looking at how we generate additional dollars. But for our staff, I want to thank them for the work that they continue to do and for the thousands of volunteers. People talk about Breck. Breck spends almost $60 million a year on recreation. You saw where we were on the other side of probably $11 million. We're not Baton Rouge, but we can do better. We can do better with more dollars and more funds, and it's going to take this community to make that decision. And as I said, those conversations need to start sooner than later. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay. Moving along, after Parks and Recreation, next department will be Development and Planning. Go ahead and,
The Department of Development and Planning has a operating budget, this is excluding capital, of $4.7 million. 10 years ago, they had 49 people in the department. In this proposed budget, they're budgeting status quo at 58 people. That increase was, most of that was done last year with the movement of ATAC from the police department to the Department of Development and Planning. The Department of Development and Planning has its own fund, Fund 299. The only portion that is that's recorded and funded from the city general fund is ATAC. You can see the department's revenues for Fund 299 start on page 101 of your budget book. You can see from this graph here that the codes fund generates a lot of money through codes, through permits and other fees. The city general fund subsidizes the operations for about $2 million, and the parish general fund is subsidizing by about $281,000. The subsidy to the fund is split 82% to the city, 18% to the parish. That's the city-parish allocation that we refer to. You can see that on page 48 of your budget book, and that is based on the non-restricted tax revenue of each general fund. The total subsidy ends up being a little bit over $2 million. And I failed to mention for the Recreation Department, so I'll go ahead and mention it. Please go back and look at the tab in your budget book for the Recreation Department. The tab for the Planning and Development Department has some statistics there, so you can see the number of recreation participants, the number of parks. In the Development of Planning, you'll see the number of permits issued, residential to swimming pools, and some miscellaneous goals and information for the department. So that's also an important part of the budget process, that we identify those for you, and we tend to flip over that tab without taking a look at it. So I just wanted to point that out.
okay, I thank you very much. It's time, I'd like to defer to Ms. Danielle Bro. Any
Thank you.
opening comments?
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Danielle Bro. I'm the Interim Director of Development and Planning, and I'm here today to review our department's budget. As you know, our Development and Planning Department serves customers who want to enhance neighborhoods, develop property, and do business in the city of Lafayette and in the incorporated areas of our parish. Our department is currently spread across 5 divisions: planning, development, codes, compliance, and alcohol and noise control. I would like to take an opportunity to introduce our managers that are here with me today. They've put an exhaustive amount of time and effort into the budget process and a lot of time in bringing me up to speed on things. As you all know, I'm about a month into my term. So I've got Melanie Jumonville, who's our budget analyst, Kathy Gilbert, who's our planning division director, Ann Famoso, who's our interim development division manager, Jim Parker, who's our compliance manager, Sally Leger, who's our alcohol and noise manager, Bruce Williams, who's our code division manager, and John Broyles, who's our permit supervisor. And they're all here to answer additional questions. I just wanted to add a few extra words about what you'll see in the structure of our department today. As you've seen, we're creating a new permit division in the department. Currently, the permitting division is located within the codes division. This year, we're proposing a standalone permit division, which has been a long-time goal of LCG. The permitting division will continue to issue all permits related to commercial and residential plan review as it does today, and we're proposing absorbing the municipal permitting functions currently issued by LUS. These things are included vendor licenses, permits for parades, parklets, outdoor dining, chain stores, food truck push carts, and Uber, et cetera, that we're proposing to bring into this permitting division. This proposal will co-locate all the LCG issued permits and licenses that are associated with fees into the newly created permitting division, thus creating a one-stop shop for our customers doing business in the city of Lafayette and the unincorporated areas of Lafayette Parish. A customer will be able to make all permit applications, all permit application payments, submit applications, and track applications and reviews within one department at one location, thus eliminating having to go to both development and planning and to LUS to deal with all of their business permits. All payment forms would remain the same as currently accepted by our department in LUS. Any other collection-related items such as ticketing fees will remain with LUS. Any permits without fees will remain with Public Works. So this is strictly bringing in the business permits with fees into the department under this new division. Over the past 9 years, Development and Planning has processed an average of 2,400 building permits per year. 60% of these are within the city and 40% of these are within the parish. The absorption of the municipal permits from LUS into the Department of Planning would include bringing in an approximately additional 1,400 permits into Development and Planning, thus increasing an average increase of about 60% when compared to the building permits. The municipal permits are just about 100% issued to those residents in this city. From a staffing standpoint, the permit manager will have a title change only with no pay adjustment. We are proposing adding 1 additional staff member to the permitting division to bring the total staffing from 6 to 7 to help offset the additional workload created by bringing in the municipal permits into this division. This also includes that person would act as a collection agent because a lot of those municipal permits are having to go out into the field with push carts and the like and actually garner payment at that time from in the field. By creating a standalone permitting division, we'll be able to provide a one-stop shop to our business customers, more efficiently dedicate resources to training, and expand our customer service opportunities, all the while doing this through a seamless transition to better serve our customers and your constituents. The other changes within the division, we're also proposing that the floodplain administrator, who currently resides within the codes division, would actually report directly to the director of the department. As LCG continues to recover from the flooding of 2016 and the forthcoming changes that are occurring with the FEMA plan map amendments, moving this position under the director would allow for more collaboration across departments and other entities within LCG for more effective floodplain management. There is another proposal today that is in our organizational structure that we're asking your permission to kind of hold off on, and I'll kind of go into more detail to explain that today. Currently within the codes division, we're continuing our cross-certification of inspectors, meaning that plumbing inspectors today would go and get certifications to do electrical inspections and vice versa. The current budget proposal dissolves the section chief titles for each trade and creates a deputy building official to coordinate inspections across the properties. We're currently evaluating our efficiencies and operations within the codes division and come to you today to request permission to revisit the specific proposed organizational change related to the section chiefs and the deputy building official. As I'm new to the position and 1 month into the role, I have not had enough time to fully evaluate the proposal. We'll absolutely continue the cross-training initiative. We do feel that it's very important, but at this time, we're asking for permission to maintain the current state, whereby the current organization section chiefs of each trade would remain as they are, and we would not be looking to create a deputy building official at this time. This would allow us the time needed to better evaluate how the codes division should be structured moving forward. If granted, if you grant us the permission to do this, we'll work with Lori and her team to provide you an amendment to our budget for you to review in this budget cycle. Lastly, the current budget has 1 promotion under the codes division, and this is to fill a vacancy position. We are also asking permission today to add 2 additional promotions to go from construction inspectors 1 to construction inspector 2s. This was not included in the original budget as the Civil Service was conducting their analysis, and just this week got back to us that they had approved the 2 additional promotion spots. Due to this recent change, we're also requesting permission to work with Lori's group to make this amendment to our budget. With that said, those are my opening remarks, and I apologize for being so long-winded this morning, or this afternoon, excuse me. So,
No, you're good. You're good. Welcome. I thought
Thank
you did
you.
good.
Thank you.
Mr. Terrio would like to chime in. Mr. Terrio.
Yes, thank you. Mrs. Bro, thank you so much for being with us. Just a follow-up. I know you mentioned about the new permitting department. With that said, and the information that's provided to us here on the council, I'm showing a substantial decrease in the residential that's coming up from 17 to 18. We're showing a decrease between the commercial from 17 to 18. How is that playing in with a new permitting department? Does that have any aspect to the reasoning behind a new permitting department, or is this done purely based on other facts?
The reason to create this permitting department was based on the fact that currently today, as a customer coming in to LCG to come after a business permit, you're having to go to LUS for some permits and coming to us for others. This is strictly just to provide a one-stop shop for the customer and make it easier on them when they're coming in for any sort of business permit that has a fee associated to it.
Which means it would help with the process to move along a lot faster than...
Absolutely.
Okay, gotcha.
More efficiency.
I've heard that before. Thank you so much.
You're
All
welcome.
right, that's all I had.
I have to say, I'm kind of excited to hear that because that's one of the big complaints I hear from people that want to come in Lafayette and
Yes.
do business is they got to go through the gamut, go here, go there. And so glad to hear that. Councilman Budo.
You said you wanted permission to hold up the execution of something in the codes department?
Right now, what's in the current budget is the creation of a deputy building official position. With that came the elimination of the chief. So currently today, we have an electrical chief, a plumbing chief, and so those were then turning into construction inspection 2 and 3s. And so all we're trying to do is maintain that chief level, not add the deputy building official position as we operate today. This does not take away from our effort to do the cross-collaboration and dual certifications that we would be encouraging our inspectors to do. It's just taking a quick step back to kind of make sure from an operational standpoint, as we're doing more of this cross-collaboration, that that's the right structure for us.
So the cross-inspection training, that'll continue?
Absolutely.
And you're going to put that into effect?
Yes, and it is in effect already.
Right. So on the code chief position, did we do anything last year as it relates to budgetary-wise on this matter, or is this something that was going to be considered this year for the first time?
I don't remember what we did last year.
Neither did I.
We do have some changes that were proposed this year, and I think she just wants to back up a little bit and re-examine. She's worked with civil service a lot this past week, but we weren't able to get those changes in fast enough for her to come to you today and say, this is the change I would like to make to the proposed budget. So what we need to do is, after this budget meeting, we're going to meet with her and work with her, and before the end of the budget process, probably the meeting when we do some housekeeping, she would like to let you know that she would like to be able to come back to you with a change in the manning table, which for all purposes is probably going to change the manning table back to what it currently is today, and then she'll work on what the plans are for the future.
Right. So that was going to be my next thing. I don't want to address any personnel matters today or manning table matters today. We kind of have policy, we want to see that information from civil service and because, a lot of folks want promotions and this is and that.
Sure.
So we'll hold off on that. But what I'm looking for, Laura, is to make sure that on last year, we didn't do anything budgetary-wise as it relates to these positions in preparation for this year, and now we're going to put them on hold, that could have, for instance, created salary float or something else that becomes a little slushy, and we could do other things with. That's what I'm asking, to make sure.
Very good point. We will double-check that, and we will put in the proposed budget amendment, we will identify. So you're looking for someone who maybe have had a planned promotion that is not going to come to fruition now because we're backpedaling.
On the whole, right. If we
Gotcha.
could do that, I think we're good, and I think, the plan, obviously, the department needs to be able to function and move forward, but just on this fiscal aspect
Sure.
of things, want to watch those. So if we could take care of that and the other promotional issues, once civil service information becomes available to everybody, I would certainly like to take those up later.
Certainly.
As
We'll
it relates
prepare
to
that ahead of time for you so you can get a look at it. And at the bottom, if there is promotions that aren't going to come to fruition, we'll identify that savings.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, let's get started, and we will get started with operation expenses on page 209. 209. Okay, not seeing anything. Go to the next page. 210. Councilman Cole.
Item number 299-95901.
What page?
I'm sorry, 210. 72600-0, which is transportation. And I don't always go by percentages, but there is almost a double on the transportation cost there. It's a minimal amount, but I'm just curious as to
We're
why
adding
there.
another vehicle to the pool, to the vehicle pool.
Simple explanation. Thank you.
All right, 210. We're still in 210. Not seeing anything at this time. Let's move right along to the next page, please. 211. Page 211. None. Go to the next page. 212. Page 212. Councilman Call.
Takes time to go through these numbers, but 2999030500900 accrued sick and annual leave, 91,000 this budget year. Are we having a retirement?
Lori.
We're estimating what we do is we send the department a list of people who are eligible to retire. They respond back to us telling us, yes, I'm going to retire, maybe I'm going to retire, or no, I'm going to retire. We usually take all the yeses, and depending upon what the maybes look like, we might put a percentage of the maybes in there. But remember, just if they could tell us yes, and they may change their mind next year, they may decide that they want to continue working for whatever reason. So it's not a definite, they're not committing to that retirement at that time.
But it is predicated on their initial answer of yes or maybe.
Yes, it is. It's predicated on that survey.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. 212. Not seeing anything. Let's move to page 213. 213. 213. Okay, I am not seeing none at this time. We will now move to the 5-year capital for development and planning, and that will begin on page 259. Page 259. page 259.
Number 40.
Have you identified any item?
We only have
Number-
number 40 on this page.
Yeah, you see on the, number 40, project number 40 and 48 are
Okay.
relative to development and
Gotcha.
planning.
Okay. Done with 259, we'll move to 260. Page 260.
And on this page, it's number 48.
Not seeing anything here. Okay. Go now to discuss the 2019 capital. We'll begin on page 287. $287. Capital. $287, not seeing any. Okay. We'll now move to the Manning tables, page 311. Page 311. Okay. Not seeing anything. Let's move to page 312. 312, page 312. Okay. 312. Let's go to 313, page 313. 313. Okay. I'm not seeing anything here. 313 is done. Any public comment? Okay. Any final comments?
I just want to echo Gerald's comments. Our staff is working as status quo, doing more with less and continuing to provide an exceptional level, I believe, of customer service to continue to support and encourage development within our city, throughout our parish, and within our neighborhoods. And with that, I thank you all for your time today.
Thank you very much, and I'll meet with you. I know we've been playing
It's
phone tag,
fine.
trying to get together.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to also recognize that Councilwoman Annette Cook has made it. She was teaching, educating our fine people. Trying, she said. I might need to go to tutoring lessons. All right, at this time, let's move up, and let's call the next department, which will be adult correction. And we'll ask finance to give us a little overview, and then
The Adult Correctional Center has an operating budget. This does not include capital improvements or any of the Public Works oversight accounts. This is just the accounts monitored by the Adult Correctional Center staff. It's $4.4 million. There is no personnel in this, as the personnel come from the sheriff's office. Out of this $4.4 million, you can see that the Correctional Center millage generates 2.5, or round up $2.6 million, or 58% of the funds required to fund the operations of the Adult Correctional Center. Another $1.7 million, or 38%, comes from the Courthouse Complex Fund, and the Correctional Center generates about $150,000 in revenue itself. Revenues for the Correctional Center start on page 91. It's Fund 262, and it, like I said, it starts on page 91 of your proposed budget book. There is no city parish allocation for the Adult Correctional Center.
that's it.
That's it. Thank you.
You. All right, I will turn it over.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Paula Smith. I'm the Warden of Corrections at the Sheriff's Office, newly appointed. Our previous warden took a job elsewhere in East Baton Rouge. We wish her well. She'll do fine there. I was previously the budget manager and took my role over with Ms. Carissa Broussard, who will be taking that role.
Grayson Lacombe, Chief Financial Officer.
Basically, budget is as it is. We are dealing with a multitude of offenders, mental health, medical issues, run the gamut. I do have some things to just give you a little snapshot of some of the medical issues that we're dealing with, and then I want to explain something to you.
Okay.
We want to keep the numbers, the status quo, because I feel that basically through progression, we've actually going to come out with a great amount of savings over this coming year. What you're looking at right now is basically the first quarter snapshot of our medical issues. We have an increase of our offender population that has HIV. Their costs are an enormous amount. We have recently come across a program that is a federal funded by the Ryan White Foundation. They are looking at our HIV population and basically are able to give us their medications for free. Not every HIV offender is eligible, but the majority of them are. This is a cost savings just in the 7 weeks, close to over $80,000. Just in inmate prescriptions. So we are looking at an enormous amount of savings. I will soon, once I get the second quarter figures out, I'll be sending y'all those questions, the presentation as well. So
That's awesome.
that's all I have for today.
Okay. Councilman Cole.
Some very generic questions. In looking at the schedule that was provided to us on operation and maintenance, 500,000 and above, it's broken down, for example, one particular question, $900,000 for jailer services. And if I read the description correctly, it's to pay for the cost of housing inmates elsewhere other than within our parish facility. Is that correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Are we using that whole amount?
For the majority, I believe last year we spent $837. And we try to manage, that's basically managing through our jail population, whether we have, for different reasons, an influx of intakes, arrestees, in a sense, and sometimes we have to ship offenders to other parishes in order to reduce our population. So, in a sense, we have to pay those other parishes a cost of housing our inmates.
What is capacity and what are we housing now?
Right now, we are at, basic capacity is 754 in our main facility. And right now, we're running right around about 600, 700 a day.
So for the moment, are we incurring extra costs for housing elsewhere?
Right now, yes, sir, we are.
On the issue of housing state and federal inmates, do we do any of that in the parish facility?
We house approximately about 17 U.S. Marshal inmates right now.
And we are being paid how much per day for that, for each inmate?
I believe it is $50 a day.
And that is being appropriated within the parish revenues?
As far as that received through the sheriff's office, as far as the maintaining the cost, or is that what you're referring to?
We are receiving, you say, $50 per day.
Per day, yes, sir, per inmate.
Which is from the U.S. Marshal's office, give or
Right,
take. I understand an
correct,
approximate
yeah.
number. My question is, where are those revenues allocated? To whom does it go?
It doesn't go into the...
Some of the costs.
I'm sorry, say again?
Used to offset some of the costs that the parish is incurring.
But it
Yes,
stays
sir.
for the, It stays for the sheriff's department, but we are paying O&M for the facility, correct?
Correct, but we also have not only the correctional center, we also have the direct supervision unit, where we have, that's the sheriff's office funded facility, as far as, that house other inmates as well, Parish and DOC.
Yeah, fully acknowledge that we're only talking, what, 15 inmates at the moment? Is that what it doesn't have to be exact.
Between 12 and 17 at any given day.
I should have been more specific. This is in the parish jail, not the one on Willow.
Correct.
Okay. I'd like to request the numbers that the revenue we're receiving from the U.S. Marshal's Office for those, the housing, the medication, and the feeding of those specific prisoners, and compare that to how much does it cost this parish of Lafayette to provide those services. And I would question as to why is it going to the sheriff's office as opposed to the parish general fund or the parish revenue sources.
Okay.
Realizing it's not a large amount, but I've read reports recently that that's being tied up in litigation, and I would just like to look at this on the front end,
Sure.
anticipating possible litigation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, let's get started. We will start on page 125. 125. Page 125.
Mr. Cox, I'd like to get back with you on the jailer services. I'm not so sure if that doesn't include some amount of money that we pay the sheriff's office for each prisoner per night that stays here in Lafayette. I'm not sure, I don't think it's the cost of prisoners outside of Lafayette alone. I think it's both. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I missed you, if you
Oh,
said
no,
that
no,
and I
wait.
missed it.
Exactly, that's for housing for offenders at other parishes, other parish facilities, but also here.
Also for Lafayette.
So
So
what are we paying?
we pay the sheriff's office, or it's, I think we call it man-days, it's per head, per night. It might be something like $2 and
It's $3.50.
$3.50. So we pay the sheriff's office $3.50 per prisoner per night.
For what service?
To clothe them, or feed them, and house, their intake, their booking process, the clothing, the feeding, and their uniforms, and you name it. Medical services.
So if you would allow me to add something to your wrap-up list, is that we try to identify how much of that money is what goes to Lafayette's sheriff versus other jails outside of Lafayette.
Please, and in my mind, to simplify the allocation of monies, I thought that the parish of Lafayette picks up all of the O&M for the parish jail, and that the staffing of the parish jail is provided by the sheriff's department. Is that too simple an explanation? Or does it get more complicated where we're actually paying additional monies to the sheriff for whatever, $3.50
$3.50
per
a day.
inmate?
$3.50, right. So I don't think we purchase food.
No, that is purchased through the sheriff's office.
So that $3.50 goes to purchase the food for the prisoner. We don't purchase prison uniform,
No.
the jail suits.
Right, they actually have an account for that.
So we house
How to-
and we medicate with parish dollars, and we feed and we clothe with sheriff dollars.
And there may be other things that $3.50 is used for. It's not black and white, and it's just the way that the jails are handled.
Again, oversimplification. That's part of O&M. Why isn't the parish picking up the cost? Why are we paying the sheriff for that? We're picking up the cost. Why don't we just have it directly in the O&M?
Well, I think it's part of state statute, is that we give that per head, per night fee for the duties that he is required to do as controller of the jail. And then we provide the facility.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Still page 125, anything else? All right. 125. Okay, let's go to page 126. One 126. Okay, I am seeing none at this time. Let's move to the next section, which will be 2019. Oh, okay, sure. Councilman Combs.
Just want to make a point that because of the limited amount of funds that we have for the O&M of the jail, that this year we're only going to spend $137,000 in capital improvements. And certainly there are more needs than what would be covered in that dollar amount, correct?
Yes, sir. One major project that we have going is actually going to be through Public Works, which is going to be an elevator upgrade. We had several projects last year that will be rolling over funds because the projects aren't complete yet, which is additional cameras in our restrictive housing areas, a portion of an elevator upgrade, as well as some security equipment that we purchased for, which is a scanning device, a cell-sense device. Those were funds that were allocated through previous years. We're rolling over those funds to complete the projects. But another project that we're adding to is to fix the second elevator. But that's going to come through Public Works.
So what you'll see here, under the department, Lafayette uses the term often, normal capital. This is probably to replace some equipment, heavy washing machines and things like that. The major amount, there's about $1 million in capital outlay that is included under the Public Works Department, and our Public Works employees will deal with that, and that's the large things like the elevator repairs and those things that have to do with the building.
What caught my eye was in the current budget, we have 1.1 million allocated, and then in the proposed budget, it drops to 137. That's what caught my attention.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And remember, the current budget could be multiple years of accumulated budgets that have carried over, and the amount under the proposed column is the new money that we are adding to that. So you get a picture of what money was available from older funds and what new money is being added to that.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just very quickly, we haven't touched on the subsidies from the courthouse complex, which is $1,691,000. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir.
And that is to cover the shortfall from the property tax for the jail, which you said was $2,580,966.
That's what the correctional center millage brings in. That operating subsidy from the courthouse, that is just for fiscal year 19. It was higher in previous years.
Could you do some quick calculation? If we were to get approval from the voters for the proposed property tax, which will be an additional tax for the jail, it's expected to generate $6,694,243. What would be the total revenue that could be anticipated if the voters approve that proposition?
You said that it was going to bring in 6.6?
That's what I read on the proposition, yes, ma'am.
So it would be about, okay, the pie chart that I showed you gives you the revenue that's going towards the operations of the jail, not the capital. So if we look at the section of schedule of revenues by fund, and go to the Correctional Center Fund, which is Fund 262. I've already forgotten what page I told you that starts on.
And I think the number you're going to refer to is 4239687.
262? Okay, in Fund 262, yes, 4.2 million is what is generated by that millage right now, but some of that money is going to capital, and this is the portion, 2.6, is what is going to operations.
Okay, with the number I'm trying to get to, and this is something that Mr. Castile and I had discussed previous to the meeting, is that with the approval of an additional property tax, we could bring the income for O&M and for capital improvements in the jail to over $10 million.
Yes, sir.
And that would remove the subsidy which is being provided by the courthouse complex fund.
Yes, sir. That would
And the
provide.
idea behind that, and this is something that when we were discussing the proposed property tax, it not only provides additional funds for the O&M of the jail, it increases the opportunity to do capital improvements in the jail, frees up the subsidy on the courthouse side, which then allows them to do necessary and much-needed capital improvements on that particular complex. So it serves a multiple purpose rather than just increasing O&M.
Absolutely.
Got that right, Jay?
Not again.
He schooled me well on that one.
Can't give him too much credit over there. All right. So we'll move to page 271, capital. Go to E&O and the 262, Correctional Center Fund. Okay, I'm not seeing anything, and there's no manning table. In the comments from the public? Okay, any final comments?
Just welcome to working with each and every one of you.
All right,
Being very transparent, and you will be getting reports from our office, definitely.
that'll be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Now we'll move to the next department. This time will be Information Services. Back to Finance, and we'll begin that page eventually on 151 with operating, but at this time we'll ask Finance to give us an overview.
The IS&T department has an operating budget, excluding capital, this is just operating, of $5.8 million. It does include any applicable grants they may receive. They have a staff of 37 people, which is the same number that they had 10 years ago, 37 people. The IS&T department is funded from the city general fund, and part of the cost are allocated back to the parish general fund through the city parish allocation. That allocation is 87% to the city, 13% to the parish general fund, and that's based on unrestricted sales tax revenue. There is a little bit of revenue in the central maintenance fund, central vehicle maintenance fund for their
Okay.
software. And that is it.
That is it, okay. Not seeing any opening comments from any council members. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and give us a spiel?
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Rue, and I'm the interim CIO for the Information Services and Technology Department. I have just a couple of members with my staff here today. Ryan Meir, the manager over infrastructure. And new to us this year, Stefan Leger is the technical supervisor over the help desk. All right, and we basically service internal departments, so we'll just open it up to start looking at the budget.
All right. Let's go, starting page 151. Oh, Councilman Con.
Are we transferring some of your services to the supervision or the direct supervision of Mr. Duyon?
Yes.
Could you explain that, please, either you or Lowell?
You want me to?
Mr. Lowell, your mic is hot, sir, if you'd like to chime in today.
Michelle will fill you in on it.
Okay, sure. So 311 Communications, which includes our 311 center, our mailroom, all our communications printing that we're still doing today is being transferred over under the Chief Administrative Officer. Because this pretty much department is really not a technology-led department, we feel that it's a better fit under the administration.
And the question I'd been placed to me was, we're not doing away with the director of IS&T, we're just moving a section under the supervision of Mr. Dillon.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. We are on page 151. Anything on 151? I got a question on 151. Retirement equalization wasn't budgeted in the past, and it's like 5,743. That's 1012910 50501 retirement equalization.
I think I just saw that Joel was coming in. I think he could provide a better explanation.
The number doesn't shock me. I'm just wondering. We haven't had that before, so.
No, we haven't. It is something new that's being proposed. Joel, he's asking.
Came back at the wrong time.
You did. You came back at exactly the right time, so I don't have the opportunity to stick my foot in my mouth again. He's asking about the retirement equalization.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to cut it out. You missed it. There's a motion on the floor. I'm joking.
Well, we've never had it before, so.
Let's take
As we look to fill some of the directors' positions, whether internally or externally, we have a situation where through our retirement system, which is not ours, the one that we participate in, the statewide MERS, where you have to have, I think it's 25 years or 10 years at age 60. So what that means in effect for the individuals that I'm having those conversations with, and whether that's Michelle or somebody from the outside, is number one, you lose your civil service protection. Number two, which has got nothing to do with this, but it's a fact. Number two, and just as importantly, you're going to put into the retirement system for however many years you're going to be in that director's position, which oftentimes depends on how long I'm in office. But at the end of that,